Tonight, a long-awaited demo.
It's this eyesore, and I don't know, I'd love to see it gone.
How soon a gutted industrial building could be coming down as the city tries to speed up demolitions. Also tonight, digging in their heels. Defying a back-to-work order, Air Canada flight attendants continue walking the picket line in Winnipeg and beyond. Plus, cleaning up the Seine.
We think it's a simple thing to reach, is removing that at least from the river.
Why one grassroots group is catching the attention of City Hall with its river cleanup work.
CTV News. Live from downtown Winnipeg with Marilee Caruso.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. On strike and off the job, Air Canada flight attendants continue to walk the picket line in defiance of a government back-to-work order. And tonight, Air Canada says all flights of Air Canada and Air Canada Rouge remain suspended until at least tomorrow. Picket lines continued today at Winnipeg Richardson International Airport. The head of the Manitoba CUPE chapter says Canadians are on its side, and the union will continue its walkout despite possible fines or even jail time.
We're making a stance and taking a stance here today and through these next few days to say we have the right to strike. We don't agree with the announcement. We don't agree with the, the Section 107 that's been delivered. We have the right to strike, and that's what we're going to do, and we're going to hold this line for these workers.
As a result of the strike, which the Labour Relations Board today deemed illegal, hundreds of flights have been cancelled, leaving hundreds of thousands of passengers stuck in limbo. CTV's Heather Wright reports.
For the third straight day, Air Canada flight attendants are on the pavement rather than in the skies, defying orders to return to work.
And if it means folks like me going to jail, then so be it. If it means our union being fined, then so be it.
The Canada Industrial Relations Board ordered the roughly 10,000 Air Canada flight attendants to return to work yesterday, after the federal jobs minister asked the Labour Board to intervene just hours into the strike.
When the government came in and tried to stop our strike 12 hours after we started, we decided that that was not enough to put pressure on Air Canada to come back to the table. That's all we want. Air Canada, come back to the table.
At issue, wages and unpaid work. Flight attendants are only paid for the hours they work in the air, which doesn't include boarding and other on-the-ground duties. The airline has offered a pay increase of 17.2% over 4 years, which the company's CEO calls an excellent offer.
That will result in our flight attendants being the best compensated flight attendants in Canada. Bar none.
But the union says that increase doesn't account for inflation over the last decade.
Starting flight attendants now are making $1,900 a month in an area where rent is $2,000.
The job action has left roughly 500,000 passengers stranded, many unsure when they will be able to get home.
I'm supposed to start a job on Wednesday. That's not going to happen.
Today, the Prime Minister weighed in, calling the impasse disappointing.
I urge both parties to resolve this as quickly as possible, and the Minister will have more to say. Minister Hyde will have more to say later.
The union is challenging the back-to-work order in court, so it's unclear how much longer this strike might last. Some estimating it is costing the airline about $60 million a day. Heather Wright, CTV News, Mississauga, Ontario.
A large eyesore on Logan Avenue could soon be coming down. The former Anco lumber building was destroyed by fire in 2023, leaving a huge mess behind. The city is now set to demolish the structure and clean up the site after rubble sat there for 2 years. With more on this, CTV's Jeff Keel joins us now live. So, Jeff, what is left over following that 2023 fire?
Quite a lot. Take a look behind me, Marilee. You can see the shell of the building still there, and it is surrounded by piles and piles of debris. Things like old lumber, bricks, doors. There's even a shell of a semi sitting on this site. There's an old tire over here. The area calls this a blight. Fire tore through Anco Lumber on Logan Avenue in 2023. 2 years later, the building's massive skeleton and large piles of debris remain on the 1.1-acre lot.
It's this eyesore, and I don't know, I'd love to see it gone.
Richard Elias is the co-manager of this truck repair shop next door. He says the property attracts people looking for scrap metal.
Like, there's 2 stories. I've seen people on the second floor just rummaging through things, worried they're going to fall.
Now there's a plan to clean up the property. The City of Winnipeg is seeking a contractor to demolish what's left of the building and remove all of the material. Ward Councillor and Community Services Committee Chair Vivian Santos says the city has received complaints from businesses and residents about the mess.
It's a blight on our city, especially on Logan Avenue. It's a commercial district. So we have businesses and residents that are very concerned for either vagrant activity, fires.
According to the city, a wet demolition is required. That's a process to safely remove asbestos. The city has set aside $750,000 for the work. Santos says unless the owner can do the demolition before the contract is awarded, the city will get it done and charge the owner the costs.
Once it's been fulfilled, then they'll put the bill on the property tax.
This wouldn't be the first time. The city has been hiring crews to demolish other vacant fire-ravaged buildings after owners have failed to take action in a timely way. For this building in rubble, Richard Elias is happy bulldozers could soon be on the way.
A relief, yeah. In the end, very much relieved that it'll be taken care of.
CTV News spoke with a real estate agent who represents the owner. He told us that the owner would not be commenting.
So, Jeff, do we know when demolition could get underway?
Not exactly. The contract is set to be awarded sometime after August 29th. That's the closing date for the bids, and it's unclear when the actual contract will be awarded and when the work will begin. But when it does, the contractor in charge of this has to contact Manitoba Workplace Health and Safety 5 days before any work begins that has anything to do with the asbestos.
All right. Thanks for this, Jeff. Winnipeggers are largely satisfied with life in the city, but safety and road repairs remain among the top concerns. This, according to the annual Resident Satisfaction Survey. Let's bring in CTV's John Hendricks now to break down some of the main takeaways. John, let's start with what Winnipeggers think the city is getting right.
Marilee, of those surveyed, the majority say they're satisfied with their life and city services, with some exceptions. 86% of respondents say their quality of life is either good or very good. As you can see, that number is largely on par with previous years and has gone up for the first time in 4 years. And when it comes to customer service, 3/4 of Winnipeggers feel the city is doing a good job. Snow removal also got a passing grade, continuing a year-over-year trend. Now, when it comes to city services, things get a little more complicated. Again, the majority, here 72%, are very or somewhat satisfied. But that's also the 5th straight year of decline. And a closer look reveals why. Satisfaction with rush hour traffic has plunged. The condition of major streets also down, and residential streets is even lower. And ease of getting around by transit has also dropped below 50%. And it's worth noting here, this survey was done before the city overhauled the transit system. And then there's safety. 58% of people feel safe walking around their own neighborhood, the lowest level in at least 5 years. And when it comes to downtown, only 12% feel safe walking alone at night. Now, 600 Winnipeg adults took part in the survey between May 7th and 18th. It can't be assigned a margin of error, though, because participants were not randomly selected.
John, what does the mayor think about all of this?
Marilee, Scott Gillingham says the survey is a snapshot, showing them where people see progress and where there is more work to be done. And in a statement, he writes, "It's good to see relatively high marks for police and ambulance response, fire protection, libraries, and rec programs. At the same time, folks are still concerned about safety and infrastructure, and that's where this year's budget is focused."
All right. Thanks for this, John. Let's bring in Colleen Brady now and get a first look at your Skywatch evening forecast. A bit of a gloomy start to the work week, Colleen.
Yeah, gloomy, a little cool for this time of year, 21 degrees. Of course, we had all that rain that came through Winnipeg for several hours yesterday. I was just looking at some of the recorded measurements from volunteer precipitation measurers, if you will, around the city. As much as 25 millimeters in some parts of Winnipeg. So a significant soaking here, other areas as well. Brandon, where it's a little bit clearer, got up to about 24 degrees this afternoon. And that's the key. The sky is trying to clear tonight, courtesy of an incoming upper ridge of high pressure. It's also going to bring the heat. I'll show you how hot it's going to get in Manitoba tomorrow, coming up, and a look at the rest of your week. Let's take a look right now through the Bathfitter Live Eye. Bathfitter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years. Cloudy in Winnipeg right now, 20 degrees with a humidex. It feels like 26. Light winds out of the north-northeast. The pressure is rising, and the humidity right now, Marilee, is 86%.
Thanks, Colleen. A 13-year-old boy is dead after a shooting in northern Manitoba. RCMP say officers with the Cross Lake Detachment responded to reports of a shooting at a home in Pimicikamak Cree Nation late Saturday afternoon. Mounties were advised a 13-year-old had been shot and was transported to the community's nursing station where he was pronounced dead. Police have arrested a 17-year-old boy and seized a firearm. Take a paddle down the Seine River and you might come across more than just Mother Nature. Garbage and other hazards are clogging up some portions of the urban waterway. And now a neighborhood group is cleaning it up, and its efforts are catching the attention of City Hall. CTV's Harrison Shin explains.
How often do you come?
I try to come at least maybe once a week, bring pets and walks and all that kind of stuff.
Dixie Funk walks her dog at Morier Park on the Seine River in St. Boniface. On Monday, she was frustrated by the amount of litter.
I picked up a blanket and some clothing. I got some more garbage in here. But it was along the river in the back towards the bush.
And the bank is not the only dumping site here.
As the river levels fluctuate this year, exceptionally low water levels in the spring, some of the foreign material like concrete and steel are exposed.
Daniel says the debris also harms boats traveling the river.
And we did have a couple boats damaged.
That can cost thousands of dollars in repairs.
That's not what you'd expect to have boats exposed to. But the damage can be pretty severe for thin-skin boats, like perhaps fiberglass or cedar strip canoes.
Now, he and a group of river lovers are asking for help.
We're asking for volunteers to help us identify the locations and what type of material that needs to be removed. And then depending on that location, it might need heavy equipment. It might be a winter event where we don't do any damage to the shoreline and we get larger pieces of equipment to that remote location. Some of it could be done with hand tools.
Daniel says recently Mayor Scott Gillingham took interest in their project, something his office confirms.
The issue of this was raised by some of the paddlers with the mayor, and the mayor approached us after and said, I'd like to keep up to date on what's happening and what we could do to assist.
Dog walker Dixie Funk says she would love to see the park return to its former glory.
I honestly can't say that it was dirty. There was not the garbage. This main area has been, just kind of amping up a bit with the garbage.
Harrison Shin, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Crews at a St. Vital area fire station are being temporarily relocated due to road work, and the firefighters union says it could result in some delays.
Any interruption in apparatus availability in your neighborhood is going to result in extended response times.
The engine and personnel at Station 26 on Dakota will be working out of Station 14. That's because they won't be able to enter or exit the station for around 2 days due to work being done on the road right outside. While the union is concerned about response delays, the chief of the Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service tells CTV it strives to ensure effective coverage. The closest unit is assigned for time-dependent calls, but may not be coming from the station closest to the incident. The Winnipeg Humane Society was asked to leave a rural Manitoba agricultural fair for setting up an animal rights display.
It was their understanding that we would be coming to do promotions on cat and dog adoptions, and then we got asked to leave.
The Humane Society has been traveling to Manitoba's summer festivals with the display, a life-size pig gestation crate, the type used on some Manitoba hog farms. The display also invites people to enter a crate for themselves to experience what it's like for confined animals. The Humane Society says the display is sparking conversations about ethically raising livestock.
And it didn't mean that they always agreed with what we were saying, but we got to hear their perspective. They got some information and education, and they got to hear about the animal welfare issues and concerns that we have with gestation crates. And the same was occurring in Hanover up until the organizers came and asked us to leave.
Hanover Ag Fair organizers released a statement on Facebook saying it, quote, accepted the request for a vendor space under the assumption it would be promoting pet adoption programs. However, that's not the display presented. Therefore, they were asked to leave. Manitoba will begin offering a single-dose immunization for RSV this fall. Currently, the RSV immunoprophylaxis program for high-risk infants uses a multi-dose antibody treatment. But starting October 1st, a provincial spokesperson tells CTV the program will begin offering a long-lasting monoclonal antibody that lasts a full season. The switch comes more than a year after Canada's National Advisory Committee recommended the switch. RSV season typically runs from late fall to early spring, with most cases between December and March. Manitoba sits at 17 medals at the Canada Games as they continue in Newfoundland. It was a bit of a quiet weekend as the men's beach volleyball team came in fourth, falling to Ontario in the bronze medal match Saturday. Team Toba, softball, cycling, tennis, sailing, and basketball teams were also in action. There are no events scheduled for today, but tomorrow Manitoba athletes will hit the court, the greens, and the track in golf, box lacrosse, baseball, athletics, and volleyball. Up next, trading ideas to build up trade.
And I think we're working well together, but we've got more to do. And
what's on the agenda as Ontario's Premier pushes the Prime Minister to start cutting red tape. Plus, the latest on high-stakes talks aimed at bringing an end to the war in Ukraine. Stay with us. Our report today shows 1.4 million Canadians missed a credit payment in the second quarter of this year. That's up by 118,000 compared to the same time last year. The report by Equifax finds younger people are having an especially hard time. Their average non-mortgage debt rose 2% from last year to more than $14,000. Turning to the markets now, crude oil added 72 cents. The loonie closed fairly flat. Gold futures lost 460. The TSX was up 17 points. The Dow Jones dropped 34 points, while the Nasdaq made a slight adjustment. Stats Canada is set to publish its July inflation data this week, and economists will be looking at how businesses are passing the higher costs from tariffs onto consumers. The July data will be published tomorrow after the numbers for June showed an annual inflation increase to 1.9%. Economists say tariffs likely kept inflation higher for food and durable goods. Therefore, also, there is a belief the Bank of Canada will need to see more easing of inflation before cutting interest rates again. Well, investigators are trying to determine the origin of skeletal remains found in northern Manitoba. The remains were discovered Saturday near the community of Tatasquiac Cree Nation on the shoreline of Split Lake. The lake has seen low water levels recently, making the remains visible in the sand. Mounties say the skeletal remains are historical. They called in an anthropologist to find out how old the bones are and how they ended up there. That investigation is now underway. The Prime Minister got together with Ontario's Premier in Ottawa today, and with ongoing trade war and no new Canada-U.S. trade deal in sight, the two had quite a bit to discuss. CTV's Rachel Aiello on Doug Ford's push for Mark Carney to cut red tape and taxes to ease the burden many businesses are facing.
What would you like to talk to Mark Carney about today?
Oh, we just have a lot of things.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford arrived on Parliament Hill today with lots to talk to Prime Minister Mark Carney about.
Well, we'll talk about the housing sector. We'll talk about steel, auto, new sectors of the economy, including artificial intelligence, what we're doing in terms of making Canada competitive.
It was their first face-to-face meeting since the latest round of trade talks with U.S. President Donald Trump fell apart.
We know President Trump's unpredictable. We have to find out what we need to do to make sure that we create the environment and the conditions for companies from around the world to continue investing in Canada. Yeah. And we'll have that discussion.
I think we're working well together, but we've got more to do and get it done.
Both emerged from behind closed doors an hour later, saying they were on the same page.
Very good meeting with the Premier.
days, but they were non-committal about any immediate action that would put money back into businesses' bank accounts or ease regulatory burdens while they're still facing tariffs.
We had a great discussion. Nothing happens immediately in that room.
It remains murky where trade talks stand, but for his part, Ford has no plans to travel to Washington anytime soon.
When they need me, I'll be down there giving my colleague Howard Lutnick a little poke.
Oh, do you think he needs one?
He needs a couple more pokes in. Don't worry, I'll poke him.
Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc was in the room for the meeting, but left without answering reporters' questions about the state of negotiations with the Americans. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
Polls close in just a few hours from now in a by-election in Alberta, which could see Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre return to the House of Commons.
I don't think he'll do anything for us because he'll just be another puppet.
I think he's perfect to represent this riding.
Poilievre is one of a record 214 candidates vying to win the riding of Battle River Crowfoot. It's considered one of the safest Conservative seats in the country. The majority of other candidates are part of a protest group which wants changes to Canada's electoral system. Poilievre is in the running after he lost his Ottawa seat in the April general election. An investigation is ongoing following the murder of an 8-year-old boy in Toronto over the weekend.
In the city, there's a lot of violence happening. I mean, shootings have gone up, but deaths have gone down, thankfully. But for a boy to be shot in their home right beside their mother, that's supposed to be the safest place that you can be. And it really speaks to what's happening within the city right now.
8-year-old Javé Roy was struck and killed by a stray bullet while sleeping in an apartment early Saturday morning. Police say suspects were firing towards a playground in the area. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders are in Washington for the latest round of talks about ending the war. Julie Sirkin has the details.
At the White House, a show of solidarity. European leaders and the head of NATO joining Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in his latest meeting with President Trump.
Thank you very much for being here.
It's the next step as the president pushes for an end to Russia's war against Ukraine, now in its 4th year. The goal, getting Zelensky and President Vladimir Putin to meet face-to-face.
I think if everything works out well today, we'll have a trilat, and I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that.
The high-stakes conversations follow Friday's unusual summit in Alaska, where the president rolled out the red carpet, literally, for Putin. But talks were cut short, and President Trump returned to Washington without a peace deal or a ceasefire agreement.
We're going to have a phone call right after these meetings today, and we may or may not have a trilat. If we don't have a trilat, then the fighting continues.
And Ukraine is looking for security guarantees to prevent another Russian invasion in the future.
There'll be a lot of help. When it comes to security, there's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good.
Russia wants to keep the Ukrainian territory it occupied, about 20% of the country.
He's certainly asking for things that the Ukrainians and others are not willing to be supportive of, and that we're not going to push them to give.
President Trump has signaled Ukraine might have to concede some regions to Russia, something Zelensky may not agree to, but saying today.
We need to stop this war to stop Russia, and we need support American and European partners. We will do our best for this.
It was Zelensky's first visit to the White House since February's contentious Oval Office meeting.
You don't have the cards right now.
Now, both sides hoping for a smoother relationship, which leads to peace. And during that meeting with President Trump, President Zelensky passed along a letter from his wife to Melania Trump. You'll remember it comes after President Trump hand-delivered a letter from the First Lady to Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday, urging him to end the war because of the children being affected by it. In Washington, Julie Sirkin, NBC News.
Israeli tanks and soldiers were at Gaza's border today as the Israeli government plans a ground offensive into Gaza's largest city. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calls Gaza City the final stronghold of Hamas. The Israeli military, though, has warned expanding the offensive could endanger hostages and draw troops into guerrilla warfare. Meanwhile, thousands of Palestinians are fleeing Gaza City, which is now under constant bombardment. And in developing news, a Hamas official told the Associated Press the militant group had accepted a ceasefire proposal. That proposal has reportedly been sent to Israel for consideration. 2 officers were killed and a third was injured in a shooting in northern Utah. A suspect is now in custody.
Officers responded to a disturbance call. Upon arrival, they immediately began taking fire. They requested additional units and then stopped answering their radio. Once additional units arrived, they were able to locate the subject of the shooting and take him into custody.
In addition to the deaths, a sheriff's deputy and a police dog were also injured. The suspect faces charges of aggravated murder. Hurricane Erin is now a Category 4 storm. It's the first of the season and is hitting the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos with heavy rain. It also prompted evacuation orders in North Carolina. It's not expected to make landfall in the U.S. or here in Canada. The U.S. Postal Service will soon release a stamp honoring former President Jimmy Carter. Carter died last December at the age of 100. The stamp will be available as of October 1st on the 101st anniversary of Carter's birth. After his presidency, Carter became a prominent activist for peace, human rights, and social housing. The stamp will feature a painting created by artist Herbert E. Abrams in 1982. Does Canada have the tools needed to keep pace with a housing shortage?
Shortage of skilled people will continue to be a problem, in the years to come.
What's slowing down Canada's home building industry?
And daytime highs in Winnipeg will gradually start to get cooler and cooler throughout the long-range forecast. Starting hot, though, 28 degrees on Wednesday, mix of sun and cloud during the day, and there's a good chance developing of showers at night, spilling over into Thursday. Showers continuing likely with thunderstorms, 25 degrees. Back to the sunshine Friday, and you can see cooler temperatures already, 21 degrees. Then we get into the weekend, mix of sun and clouds Saturday, Sunday, with daytime highs of 18 and 19 degrees.
Have a news tip? When you see news happening, let CTV News Winnipeg know. Text your tips, pictures, and videos to 10400. That's 10400. Message and data rates may apply.
Canada's home building is picking up, but not fast enough, according to a national housing agency. CTV's Maria Serro reports from PEI, a province punching above its weight, but still struggling through the crunch.
Homes are taking shape across Charlottetown, construction crews working hard. For its size, PEI is building at roughly double the national rate, according to the newest numbers.
We're small, but we're very resilient. We like to get things done.
But like other provinces, the island can't keep up with demand or the pace needed to restore pre-pandemic affordability by 2035, according to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. In July, Canada's home building was 4% faster than in June, at about 294,000 homes per year. But that's still far from the CMHC's affordability benchmark of 430,000 to 480,000 home starts per year. This home I'm standing in is a work in progress, greenlit well before today. One of the reasons for the building bump is that pre-planned projects like this one are going ahead. But the National Housing Agency says that doesn't reflect current investor appetite. In fact, the CMHC is projecting a slowdown later this year.
We've been in a context where the economy has been quite uncertain. We've been facing geopolitical uncertainty as well.
While tariffs and higher costs are making homes harder to finance, the Construction Association of PEI's executive director says there are bigger challenges.
Shortage of skilled people will continue to be a problem, in the years to come.
So builders here say they need more help to turn frames into finished homes. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
The federal government gave an update on Canada's wildfire season today, and they warn that above average seasonal temperatures will persist over the next 3 months for most parts of the country, increasing the risk of even more wildfire activity.
This wildfire season is now Canada's second worst on record in terms of hectares burned, and wildfires have consumed an area roughly the size of New Brunswick. And to put it in perspective, this is about double the usual average.
There's more than 700 wildfires currently burning in Canada. 68 of them are considered out of control. The national wildland fire preparedness level is 5, meaning there's firefighters and equipment being used in every province and territory. Large swaths of BC and the prairie provinces are expected to be drier and hotter than normal. And most of the land burned this wildfire season has been in Saskatchewan, as well as here in Manitoba.
CTV Skywatch weather brought to you by South Beach Casino and Resort. Visit southbeachcasino.ca.
We saw some rain here in the city. Any of the wildfire zones get some much needed rain?
Well, it was really more southern Manitoba that got the rain this go round. But if you remember, Marilee, just a few days ago, northern parts of the province got absolutely soaked. Lynn Lake up to 85 millimeters fell there. Many wildfire affected areas got an awful lot of rain when that low pressure system passed through just before the weekend. Just coming out of the weekend, we had that rain in Winnipeg. Again, I mentioned some areas saw 20 to up to almost 25 millimeters in parts of the Winnipeg. Now we have an incoming upper high area of high pressure, a ridge of high pressure, and that will help to clear out the sky at least to varying degrees across the province tonight. Also, the winds across Manitoba are light, and with that moisture that's still on the ground in many places in northern and southern Manitoba, we're likely going to see fog develop in a lot of places in the next few hours. So this is what I mean, like a curtain being pulled back, if you will. Those clouds really start to move off further to the east or just outright diminish, courtesy of that upper ridge starting to build more over Manitoba, but it's also going to bring the heat. Tomorrow we're looking at daytime highs pushing into the upper 20s here in the south with humidex values that will feel well into the 30s. It will be very warm across the north too. Temperatures not that far behind. You can see as we get into the latter part of the afternoon, we certainly clear out quite a bit. So most areas will see sunshine, a little bit of light rain just in the most northern parts of the province. There's not much to it just yet, but there is more on the way for Manitoba. As we get into the overnight hours, taking us into very early Wednesday morning, that's when we see this more organized rain start to push into the southwest. And over the course of the next few hours, it's going to spread across southwestern Manitoba Wednesday morning. We will likely see some of that rain come through Winnipeg, but the expectation is that it may hold off until Wednesday night. For tonight, again, here in the city too, we're expecting fog to develop, so that may reduce your visibility if you have any overnight driving or for the commute earlier tomorrow morning. 16 is the low. Light winds to start the day tomorrow for that commute. 17 degrees. Aside from any fog, we should see more of a mix of sun and cloud continuing throughout the day, kind of going back and forth between outright sunshine and a mix of sun and cloud, up to 26. And again, when you factor in the humidex, it will feel well into the 30s tomorrow. 7 is the UV index for Tuesday for the city. That's considered high. Across the northeast tonight, partly cloudy for Churchill. You shouldn't see fog developing over your community there, 11 degrees, but the rest of the northeast, Gillam, Island Lake, fog there. More centrally, Thompson, fog developing too. And all these areas will either see partly cloudy skies or a little cloudier around Island Lake, and then tomorrow bright and sunny in Thompson up to 25. There's a chance you'll see some showers in Churchill tomorrow with a high of 22 degrees. Gillam, Island Lake as well, up around 22 under a mix of sun and cloud. The sky will clear this evening over Lynn Lake, dropping down to 12 there. Not expecting to see much in the way of fog developing in your community, but further south, Flin Flon, Ocean, The Paw, Norway House and Norway House Cremation. Again, varying amounts of cloud with fog developing overnight. Overnight lows 12, 13 degrees. Sunshine or a mix of sun and cloud tomorrow with highs between 23 and 25. In the southwest tonight, partly cloudy for most areas. Most areas, including Dauphin and Brandon, down to 14. Watch out for fog there and for your commute tomorrow. Otherwise, it will be sunny and warm, 26, 27 degrees. Winnipeg in the southeast, clearing overnight, but watch out for the fog. Overnight lows in the mid-teens, and then tomorrow mix of sun and cloud. 26 degrees for most of us. And in northwestern Ontario, cloud there tonight. You might see a little bit of a drizzle very early tomorrow morning in Dryden. Otherwise, a mix of sun and cloud, and 25. Our first weather photo is a gorgeous one. This takes us out to Durban, Manitoba. That's quite close to the Saskatchewan border. A look at that half rainbow. That photo is from Ryan. And this beautiful lady is Rosie, out enjoying her day at Cooks Creek just east of Winnipeg. That photo is from Vanessa. Send us your photos to winnipegweather@ctv.ca.
Thanks, Colleen. Monarch butterflies are getting ready for their annual migration to Mexico, and there are ways you can help them. Alexander Hullock explains.
Whether you're 8, 9, or 89, the magic of monarch butterflies can be captivating.
I think it's a really cool animal, or insect, I should say.
It's amazing what they do. You don't know what they're going to do.
The orange and black winged creatures are gearing up for their annual migration to Mexico. But for now, they're spending time at a Stratford park.
The butterflies that you see throughout the summer are here to basically enjoy their summer vacation. The monarchs we're seeing now, the eggs that are being laid now, are what we call the super generation. They're going to be slightly bigger.
Barb Hacking has been raising monarchs for over 40 years. She says she does it to educate others about the endangered species and its dwindling population.
2 years ago, the population in Mexico was down again. And this year they're saying, oh, it's doubled. But they have to realize it's doubled from not very many to begin with.
Experts say monarchs thrive in areas full of milkweed, and the best way to keep the population going is by planting milkweed in your own garden. But a new research study from the University of Guelph suggests there are other steps that can be taken on a global level.
That includes a collaborative multi-million-dollar approach between Canada, the United States, and Mexico.
The conservation of this species is really a shared effort between the three countries because monarchs move between these three countries over the annual cycle.
The study suggests investing $150 million over 5 years, with majority going toward replenishing milkweed habitats in the U.S. Midwest.
And then in the fifth year, you would actually allocate funds both in southern Ontario and the prairie provinces of Canada, as well as in Mexico, where the butterflies overwinter.
With the hopes that millions of milkweed plants will bring millions more monarch butterflies.
If you plant for them, they will come.
Alexandra Hollig, CTV News, Stratford.
It's become a weapon of choice in Winnipeg.
And picked my head up, I realized her arm was covered in blood.
The devastating injuries a Winnipeg artist sustained in a machete attack. His story coming up after the break. A Winnipeg man is on the road to recovery after being attacked with a machete. And while he works to resume his career in the arts, the incident has prompted questions about the availability of the edged weapons. CTV's Alex Carpa reports.
So here's my little studio area. It's a little messy. But
Eric Laferriere is big into the arts. He is a DJ, producer, and is a tattoo artist on the side.
If it's art, I've probably done it one way or another.
But back in the fall of 2023, his life changed in a matter of seconds. He was randomly attacked by someone wielding a machete outside of his apartment.
Put my head down on my girlfriend's arm and picked my head up and realized her arm was covered in blood. And that's when I was like, why is my head bleeding? And looked down and my hand was all flapped open.
And it's been a long journey for Laferriere. He still doesn't have 100% mobility on his left arm.
I had to relearn how to draw. They originally told me that I had 10% to get even 5% of my movement back.
There have been a string of machete attacks here in Winnipeg over the last few months. Most recently, 3 teens were charged after they attacked a 14-year-old boy with a machete at a city mall. But the question is, how did they get their hands on this weapon? In 2024, the Manitoba government introduced legislation to regulate the sale of long-bladed weapons like machetes. Criminologist Frank Cormier says while legislation is a good thing, there's still a lot of weapons around.
You could buy them in discount stores, hardware stores, just about anywhere, and they were quite cheap. And unfortunately, they are a very effective weapon. They are large and they are sharp.
As for Laferriere, he is taking his recovery day by day.
It's a lot more mental healing now than it is physical, because this is the best it'll ever be.
In the meantime, Laferriere says he will continue to work hard to revive his career in the arts. Alex Carpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Doctors are seeing a growing number of non-smokers with lung cancer. The Canadian Cancer Society estimates a quarter of people with lung cancer never smoked. The society says exposure to radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer among non-smokers. Health Canada says the gas is present to some degree in every home and estimates 19% of Manitobans are living in a home above the radon guidelines. It urges Canadians to check their levels with a radon test kit. Secondhand smoke and air pollution are other risk factors. Experts say it's important to consider lung cancer when non-smokers have a cough that won't go away. Advanced molecular testing and immunotherapy often make targeted treatment possible. The U.S. Center for Disease Control is issuing a travel warning for parts of China due to increased cases of a mosquito-borne virus. Chikungunya is spread by the Asian tiger mosquito. The CDC notes a surge in cases in the Guangdong province of China. Most people infected develop some symptoms within 3 to 7 days of being bitten. The most common symptoms include fever, joint pain, headache, fatigue, and rash. They usually disappear within a few days, but can linger in some people for months. Newborns, older adults, and people with medical conditions are at risk of more severe symptoms.
Medical Watch is brought to you by Manuke and Coster Denture Clinic.
Seen any good movies this weekend? We will run down the weekend box office numbers for you, and it's a picnic like no other. We'll tell you what's new at this year's Teddy Bears Picnic. That and much more entertainment news coming up in Spotlight.
Spotlight, sponsored by the Casinos of Winnipeg, presenting Led Zepp again, the premier tribute.
A beloved family tradition will return to Assiniboine Park next month, and we're learning more about what you can expect. The Children's Hospital Foundation Teddy Bears Picnic is set for Sunday, September 7th, and will feature more than 20 tents of activities, including the ever-popular Dr. Good Bear Clinic, where your stuffed friend will be triaged and treated. Kids can also get hands-on with science, make a craft, or take a picture with the Grey Cup. The main stage will include performances by Heather's Pretty Parties, Mason Hoop Dancers, James Culleton, and more. This year, you can also pre-book your appointment in the clinic, science tent, and for breakfast, but spots are limited. Walk-ins, though, are still welcome. British character actor Terence Stamp has died at the age of 87.
For an actor who, always wanted a long career, the crucial thing is to keep sort of reinventing yourself.
Stamp's film career began in 1962 when he earned an Oscar nomination for the film Billy Budd. He was likely best known, though, for his role as the villain Zod in 1978's Superman and 1980's Superman 2. It was a relatively quiet weekend at the box office, with last week's top films staying the course.
I don't understand at all. Why just her classroom? Why only hers?
Horror thriller Weapons held on to its #1 spot, adding $25 million US in ticket sales across North America. Freakier Friday was back in second place for its second weekend, bringing in $14.4 million. Action comedy Nobody 2, which of course was filmed here in Manitoba, was able to get onto the podium with its debut, snagging third with $9.3 million. Well, it was an era-defining moment, and the record shows it.
This is my brand new album.
Taylor Swift appeared on her boyfriend Travis Kelce's podcast, New Heights. That's where she revealed her 12th album, The Life of a Showgirl. It set a YouTube record, no surprise. The show peaked at 1.3 million concurrent live stream viewers, which is a new podcast high on the platform. Kick off the week with some great entertainment starting at 7 with American Ninja Warrior and Catch the Rainmaker at 9. It's all right here tonight on CTV.
Organizers are calling it another successful year. How many people walked through the doors of the many Folklorama pavilions over the past 2 weeks when we return?
Women's clothing provided by RW & Company. Salon services provided by Essentique Spa Salon.
Tonight, refusing to return to work.
If it means folks like me going to jail, then so be it.
The escalating bitter labor battle and how soon stranded Air Canada passengers could fly again. Later on CTV National News.
20 degrees right now in Winnipeg. Still cloudy, light winds out of the north-northeast at 7 kilometers an hour, but it's humid. It feels like 26. Just wait till tomorrow. 21 our highest temperature of the day, below normal by about 3 degrees. No record. That was set on this day in 1983. Well into the 30s there. 16 tonight with fog overnight into early tomorrow morning. Watch out for that. Mix of sun and cloud in the afternoon up to 26 degrees. 28 Wednesday, and then the temperatures gradually get cooler.
Do they ever? You do. All right. Our city's largest ethnocultural festival is celebrating another successful year. Organizers with Folklorama say a whopping 361,000 people enjoyed 915 individual shows across its 43 pavilions over the past 2 weeks. If you didn't have a chance to make it out, or even if you did, here is a look back at some of the highlights. Enjoy and have a great night.
Good night.